Welcome back to Prism Radio, January 8th, 2022. Hope everyone had a good New Year's weekend or a good New Year's Day. I did. I didn't do a whole lot, just because Christmas weekend was so hectic and busy and all over the place that I decided New Year's weekend was going to be more low-key. I didn't do a whole lot, didn't do the whole ball drop thing. I haven't done that in a couple years. I remember being super excited as a kid to finally see the ball drop on TV because I always heard about it, but I always clocked out right, way before midnight. And then I finally saw it and I was so disappointed. I was like, that's it. See, as a kid, I keep hearing about, oh yeah, they had this giant glass ball and then they let it drop. And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome, because I thought it was just a giant glass sphere that they let shatter to the earth and just break. And that's what I expected. Nope, they just kind of lower it, and I was like, oh. Alright, more of a fireworks guy, I guess. I don't think I heard any fireworks this year for New Year's. Then again, I'm kind of far away from where the water is, where they do it, but I saw a lot of the fireworks displays from around the world, and those are all fantastic. Everyone loves fireworks, even if you have to wear earmuffs or something, because you have sensitive hearing, but everyone loves some good fireworks. I do really like 4th of July, just for the fireworks alone and the food, so it's a good time. I didn't do a whole lot for the actual New Year's, though. Kind of stayed in. But this week I went to my Coptic friend's Christmas, which that was really fun, because that was on this January 6th. It was a very good time. I met a lot of their friends and family. That was very good, and had some really good Egyptian food. Some very interesting Egyptian food as well, but the majority of it was very good, and they were all very wonderful people, so it was an excellent time. And I did kind of slap together a playlist for today. Got some interesting stuff on here, and some stuff that I'm surprised isn't as popular as I thought it would be. But yeah, we got a pretty good mix here. I almost made this entirely metal just because a lot of stuff I was like, oh, I should play that. And I was like, well, I already have enough rock on here, so I gotta save all my good metal stuff for another day. But I got a lot of good stuff here. So we're gonna start off again. Gonna do 2 songs a block, and let me see. So we're gonna have 2 songs a block until the very end, and then we'll leave off with Anathema as we have in the past. And let's go. First song. I discovered this actually just recently when I was looking for more stuff like the Algorithm and Master Boot Record. It's called, the band name is Andromeda, and this is Artificial Life. Welcome back, Prism Radio. That last song was Unsaid One by Show Me a Dinosaur, which I found from a black gaze playlist on Spotify called This Is Wood Gaze. Which goes back to an argument I had with my friend that said you can't just put core at the end of anything and make a new aesthetic. That's not how it works. You can't just post a picture of a hospital room and go hospital core, nurse gaze. You can't do this. That's not how it works. She says, yes, it can. Yeah, nurse core. What are you going to do about it? So, anyways, Show Me a Dinosaur is very interesting. They're a Russian band, which comes back to what I said last time, that all my music is either American, Japanese, or Russian. And that just seems to be the case for the most part. But it's really interesting because we're falling into that issue with black gaze that I think regular black metal fell into, where it all starts sounding the same at some point because the actual talented people are so far and few between. So a lot of it does sound, it follows a very similar structure, but it was very interesting that they had really soulful guitars, and at the end of the song has something that sounds kind of like classic rock, kind of like a classic beach rock kind of vibe, which took me by surprise because that's kind of the last thing that I was expecting out of that song. But I really like black gaze projects that mix, of course, black metal, but with other prog rock. But when they start leaning more into the prog rock and further away from the black metal, I think that's when it becomes more interesting. Because you do have post-black metal projects that are essentially just black metal projects, but they add some piano or something like that, like Ghost Bath, or of course Death Heaven, where it's black metal, but it's a little bit different. And then you have some really original stuff where they lean further into the prog rock, post-rock, even math rock roots while retaining black metal influences, and that's what's more interesting to me. So they're really good. If you're into more of that kind of stuff, then check out the playlist. This is Wood Gaze. There's a lot of good stuff on there too. And next up, continuing the trend of my trifecta of musical tastes. Let's see, what do we got? Should I rearrange this? No, I think it's okay. I think it's fine. Let Me Be With You by Round Table.
Yo te oso to 重ねてほら is gone. All the angels praying for me as I fall, as I fall. While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain, she is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? To my nightmare with the devil, I'll go strong, I'll go strong. All my friends now trying to save me. What a joke, what a joke. While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain, she is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain, she is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain, she is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long?
Pain by Blackfield. Found them looking for more stuff like Anathema, since Anathema are still on indefinite hiatus, and it looks like they're probably gonna be forever. They, I think everyone's gone their separate ways. Vincent Kavanaugh, I believe, is he started his own solo project. I know one of the other guys in the band, he already did his solo project, and their bassist is releasing an album soon, actually. But it's a little bit slower than what my tastes are usually. It's not bad, definitely not bad by any stretch, but I'll wait until the album comes out, and I guess I'll review it then, or see what I think about it, because I listened to one of his singles, and I wasn't digging it, but, we'll see. Sometimes a single can really taint your idea of an album. But I guess the actual reason for why Anathema split up came out, and I guess Danny Kavanaugh was really making the lives hard for the rest of the band members. Something else came out maybe about with him and Anathema fan that might have been under the age, and so no wonder why the band actually broke up. But that's really heartbreaking to hear that happened, because like I've made it clear, they're my favorite band, and to hear that happened is definitely not comfortable news. But I guess I would have preferred them to break up and go their separate ways than to try to force it and make it work. But so the Blackfield's a very similar band. There's a couple bands that I don't think any band will ever nail the feeling that Anathema has with their last 3 albums. I just think there's too many intricate differences that you can't recreate. But they come very close to a lot of their older stuff, because Blackfield sounds very much like the Thin Air era of Anathema in like the early to mid 2000s. But from 2010 on, they just have such a unique sound, I think. Moving on, we got this is a kind of an interesting one, because the band is called Dance with the Dead, and they had a B-sides release, and it was mostly a lot of rock, kind of heavy metal, but there's no lyrics. And they usually do a lot of electronic stuff. I think I probably found them when I was looking for more stuff like Perturbator. I still don't know how to pronounce that properly. Perturbator? I don't know. Then they had some rock stuff, so I checked that out, and that's actually pretty good. It's another genre that I can only really describe as boss fight music, kind of like the Algorithm. But I want more of this music because there's a very specific feel associated with it. So this is Dance with the Dead with Get Out. Hung on the Rocks by Dunsmuir. Dunsmuir? Dunsmuir. I'm not sure. If you think that the vocalist sounds familiar, but you're not really sure where it's from, that's because the vocalist is Neil Fallon, the vocalist for the band Clutch. And this is a side project that he has, where they sing, I believe, mostly about H.P. Lovecraft stuff, the H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu mythos. And this band doesn't really have a lot of plays. I was very surprised because Neil Fallon's a phenomenal vocalist, and he has a very unique style to his voice and the way that he sings. And after listening to Electric Worry, because it's a fantastic song, how could you not think it is? And I was like, I wonder what other bands he's in, because he has to have a couple different projects. And he does, and there's this band, Dunsmuir, that sings about H.P. Lovecraft stuff, and I really like a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's writing and ideas and his art and mythos. And a lot of these songs on their album, which came out in 2016, the top song only has like 35,000 plays, so almost unheard of compared to Clutch, of course. So if you want more of Neil Fallon's amazing vocals, then check them out, because there's a whole nother album out there waiting for you. Up next, what do we have? We got more neo 80s synthwave, because it's all good. And even though I didn't live through the 80s, I really like a lot of their car designs. Not that I'm a car guy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know the first thing about cars, but I really like angular cars and kind of the old like Pontiac Firebird and a lot of the old Mazdas. I really like the look of those. I don't like the whole blob car look, like the Kia Soul, anything that's kind of roundy. I like angular cars, and the 80s definitely had a lot of those, so I like that kind of aesthetic. So we have Drive-By Stalking by Night Stop. Elimination by Seidon and Treha Sectori. Very new kind of thing that I've been into. Like I said, I think on episode 1 that I don't really do a whole lot of ambient music or ambient noise because it doesn't really stimulate me. And that's true, but this has enough of kind of a tribal war drum sound going to it that I can vibe with it. And it's good. Like a lot of my background music for studying or working is stuff like taiko, or like the background music I use on the show, Orange Coffee. A lot of mellow electronic music, but this is a very good backup. Very good deep thinking, working, reading music. And there's enough of a mysterious atmosphere to it that keeps me thinking about it in a way that a lot of like drone doesn't, because it's very repetitive. But I know Treha Sectori does a lot of kind of creepy ambience like this, like dark ambience I think it's called, which I haven't explored at all until this. But maybe I'll get into that, because I think I did bookmark a dark ambient album like months ago and I never got around to looking at it, but maybe that'll happen now. And for some reason I got reminded, I was speaking to a friend and it reminded me that I back working in call centers, and I just have to say to everyone, never work at a call center unless of course you are like just desperate for a job, desperate for income, and that's the only thing you can have at the moment, then by all means. But if you can, never work at a call center, because you meet the absolute weirdest, creepiest people, most verbally abusive people that you've ever spoken to in your life. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. They will pay you good, maybe. Sure, I worked at a call center and they paid me pretty well for the time and the place, but it was not worth the amount of like mental damage sustained by talking to. Because normal, well-adjusted people generally can go online and figure out what the problem is with their phone or whatever. It's the really unhinged people that will call in and yell at people, and you have no idea what to expect, and they will throw the weirdest stuff out there at you, and you have about 13 microseconds to figure out what the response is going to be, and your response is always wrong. Doesn't matter. You can give them exactly what they asked for. They don't want it. So just never. That's the moral of the day today. Don't work at a call center. It'll just rot your soul from inside out. And the people that call into call centers, where it doesn't matter if it's cable, doesn't matter if it's cell phones, whatever, are just completely unashamed of how they act, for the most part. Like, of course, not everyone's like that, but those are the ones that you remember. I've had probably 200 fine regular calls for every 10 bad calls, but I don't remember those normal calls because they're normal. But you get the one guy that calls in and starts screeching at you about how his pay-per-view and porn didn't satisfy him. What do you say to this man? He's completely unhinged. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Moving on. I didn't realize that this song was so long when I added it to the playlist, so I hope that's not a problem. But it's from 1973, and I'm kind of surprised that this band isn't more popular, because it's very good. Not that I know a lot about 70s music, because I don't listen to 70s music for the most part, and I wasn't born until 20 years later. But here is Freedom by Buffalo.
return from the salt, salt sea, all for the love of thee. Well, I could have married the king's daughter, dear. She would have married me, but I have forsaken her crowns of gold, all for the love of thee. Well, if you could have married the king's daughter, dear, I know you are to blame, for I am married to a house carpenter, and I find him a nice young man. Oh, will you forsake your house carpenter and go along with me? I'll take you to the grass grows green, to the banks of the salt, salt sea. Well, if I should forsake my house carpenter and go along with thee, what have you got to maintain me on and keep me from poverty? 6 ships all out on the sea, 7 more upon dry land, 110 all brave sailormen will be at your command. So she picked up her own wee babe, kisses she gave him free, said, stay right here with my house carpenter and keep in good comfort me. Well, it had not been about 2 weeks, I know it wasn't 3, before our fair lady began to weep. She wept most bitterly. She wept most bitterly. She wept most bitterly.
Mirker and House Carpenter. Kind of an interesting figure, Amelie Brun. She was a singer for a group called X-Cops back in New York. I think she was born in Denmark, and then she joined a whole bunch of different other groups over in New York City. And she's been making music for almost 20 years now. And I just remember I heard about her originally because Mirker's primarily a black metal project, and it's a pretty good black metal project. And this album that this is off of is called Folksange, which is mostly a lot of European folk songs that she did. But I remember when she started getting really big is that like the black metal scene was super mad. People hated her, and I never really understood why, because I would listen to it and some of it was good and some of it was not so good. But it's like I never understood why she specifically got so much negative reception, and some people kept saying it's like, oh well, she's a woman in the black metal industry and people don't like that. I was like, that's not true, because there are a lot of black metal bands that have female vocalists or female members. I mentioned this back on my first episode. There's tons of metal bands with female members, and I've never really seen a lot of vitriol thrown at them. So I never understood why she specifically got a lot of bad press. I guess maybe it's because she was in other bands before that. I think what it was, and this is mostly speculation, I think what it was is that she was already kind of popular for a different genre, and then she got popular with some bigger publishing labels like Relapse Records, and then people said that she was planted into the black metal industry to sell records based on the fact that she was a female musician instead of her wanting to get into metal in the first place. So basically they're saying that she's an industry plant, and I don't buy that. The reason I don't buy that is because if you're going to do an industry plant for the purpose of money, you wouldn't go for likely the least popular form of music in the country. Because even if a black metal band blows up and makes a lot of money relatively in the industry, that's still pennies compared to a lot of pop music in America. That's why a lot of industry plants go for rap, pop, and R&B, maybe some sort of pop rock like Imagine Dragons, because that makes money, a lot of money. But you're not going to get a lot of money and critical reception with a black metal industry plant. You might get a little bit, but it's probably not worth the effort you're putting into it. So I don't buy that theory. So I'm back at the same spot I was originally, where I don't really know why she got a lot of hatred in the first place. Because I really don't think it's because she's a woman, and I don't think it's because she's a so-called industry plant. If anyone knows, please let me know, because I don't know. If there was some drama that happened originally, then alright, fair enough, but I don't care enough about industry drama to get into it. Except for that one part. This was actually like funny in the worst way. Was Keith Warslut of an Australian band, Destroyer 666. They were doing a concert in France, and this was relatively soon after I think it was the Paris shootings. There was that French shooting like several years ago. It was really, really bad. And they were doing a concert there relatively short after that. And he got wasted on stage during the concert, and he started telling off the French people about their spineless reaction to the whole thing, and that got him a lot of bad press, which, understandable. People don't necessarily want to go to a concert to hear about, tragedies in their hometown or whatever, and then getting slammed for it by some drunk guy on stage. But I remember hearing that, and I was like, would Keith do that? Yeah, Keith would do that. So that's more understandable, I guess. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up the show here, as always. Like I said, we're going to finish with Anathema, and it's going to be Leaving It Behind by Anathema, one of their leading songs off of the Optimist album, which I didn't know that the Optimist album was tied to A Good Place to End. I believe that's the title of one of their older albums. So that's an interesting thing if you want to read about that. It ties to a much older album. So thank you very much for watching. God bless. We'll see you next week. As always, all your viewership is appreciated. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Tonight the line.